Welcome to the Utilization of Money podcast with Todd Levine from Levine Financial Group. In this podcast, we teach our clients how to own their personal economy. Join us on this journey where we build upon your greatest asset as Todd draws from his years of expertise, solutions, strategies, and expert guest stories to help you understand how money works.
Hello and welcome to Utilization of Money with Todd Levine from Levine Financial Group. Good morning, Todd. How are you?
Good morning.
Excited to be here?
Absolutely. Always with you, Art.
Right on. Okay, so the last podcast, we started going through the LFG process. And that what basically that tells me is that from the time somebody calls you up or walks in the office, kind of that onboarding and the first initial meeting and the ongoing work you do with them, correct? That's the LFG process?
Correct.
All right. And so we covered that first meeting, what it looks like to start with you. And I know for this podcast, we're kind of going to start at the second meeting that people have with you and then the ongoing work that you do with them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So where do we start? What does that second meeting look like? So
after the first meeting, I think we've established that we're going to be working together. We took the 20,000 foot view over there, look at their financial situation and established that there are some areas that we can work on. They've agreed to move forward in our process, and here we are now in the second meeting. And what takes place here in the second meeting is really us being able to show them how their existing plan will act under a lot of different circumstances, and versus what our proposed plan would look like under those same situations. And we'll utilize a tool called Living Balance Sheet to factually prove our scenarios versus their existing versus what's going on in their existing plan. And this is really where our clients start to have this aha moment about, wow, I didn't realize how my plan was going to really hold up and how it was really going to look from a growth standpoint and an income standpoint. So it's this, in my opinion, is the most important meeting because the clients now have kind of put down their guard a little bit. We're not really going much into that fact-finding stuff, which really, for most people, is a little bit uncomfortable because they really have to disclose all their information and truly how they feel. So this meeting really gets them, they could kind of sit back in their chair and really look and start to learn and see how, from a planning standpoint, their life can get a lot better. So they start to really clearly see the vision of how their financial situation is going to play out.
So living balance sheet, you mentioned that a minute ago. What is a living balance sheet?
So the living balance sheet is a proprietary tool that we use to help our clients organize their finances. And for us, on our end, it is a planning tool that will help we use to verify strategies. And so for the clients, it's a tool that they can aggregate all their financial statements, all their financial information, and then that's a tool that you can't transact through it like a bank, but you can integrate and aggregate all of their everything that they have financially, and that will update every single day. So for them, it's a great tool that they can go to and see everything that they have going on in one area. Okay, and also there's a vault. There's a vault there, so all of their documents and all that stuff that's usually in what we call a junk drawer gets imported into
nice.
Select files. Yeah, so they could actually access everything from anywhere in the world. And so for our clients, first, most people come in with a junk drawer and they have stuff everywhere. When it comes, just give you an example, when a lot of our clients come in and, I think the first thing they say to me is here's my tax return from 2019 or 2018. And they're like, oh, I had to go through my draw and this. And when my accountant asks for it, I have to go find it. And I have to ask my husband or my wife what draw is it in. And so in this situation, so we'll have specific folders for taxes, life insurance policies, retirement accounts, non-qualified accounts, bank statements. So everything's easy, accessible, and in secure PDF. So this really becomes their go-to for everything. So on that end, and then on our end, it really is a great tool for us to help our clients manage their financial life on an everyday basis. So for us, it's great because our clients' data it's constantly updating, and new information is constantly being imported in. So as we're sitting down with our clients on quarterly reviews, where we have a clear picture about where the inefficiencies are and some areas that we're going to need to work on. So it's really a benefit to our clients and for us from a planning standpoint.
Yeah. In my house, we call that the WGC, which stands for Wild Goose Chase, because if I'm looking for something, I'll ask my wife, well, did you check this drawer? Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll go there. So I check that drawer.
Exactly.
No, it's not there. Oh, you know what? It's probably in the drawer in the kitchen. In the kitchen island, I've got that one drawer. Yeah. Okay. Hang on. I'll go check that. I go check that. Todd, it's not there. It's the WGC. I love it. It's a game we play, which I wish I could stop playing for sure. Now you said that the living balance sheet updates daily. How does that work? I mean, is it just automatic, and the stuff that you guys are doing, the stuff that they're doing, they're able to input things and it updates on a daily basis? Are you talking, does that hold information about their bank accounts and things like that as well?
Correct. It's the software is extremely safe. It's actually more secure than the actual banking online banking sites. It's the eMoney owns the software, and so yeah, their accounts will be aggregated directly. So, like I said earlier, you can't transact through this tool, but we can aggregate your accounts to where they will link and they will update on a daily basis.
But you can see everything on a daily basis.
You see everything. Yeah. Yep, real time.
And eMoney's a big name. I mean, eMoney's they're not new on the block by any means. So, I mean, that's a great company to have software through. So when clients are utilizing this, well, let me ask you this actually. How many of your clients utilize that, do you think? I mean, they get introduced to it in the second meeting. How many of them are using it effectively?
I'd have to say probably 95% of our clients.
That's awesome.
It is actually part of our process where part of the onboarding process, which our clients love so much, because once a plan is fully implemented, there's actually a separate meeting set up with our staff. And at that meeting, I will not be in that meeting, but our staff will walk them through completely integrating and setting up all of their accounts and making sure all the information is in. They set up the app on their phone, their iPhone, whatever phone they might have. So when they leave that meeting, whether it's in person or via webinar, they're fully ready to go. And so that's really exciting for them. During the process, I'm talking about it. And then after that meeting, I'm usually getting updates from the clients. They're like, this is great. Your staff was great. We have everything on our phone and our computer and everything, so we can update everything. And this is an ongoing process because sometimes, when passwords change and the links need to be updated and new information's coming in, it's constantly being updated at least every quarter. But at first, after the process, after first steps of implementation, the office is getting them set up, and they love that.
Yeah, so you're providing free training for them.
Absolutely,
that's fantastic. I mean, anything new like that, any new software. I mean, it's there's a learning curve, I'm sure, but it sounds like you've got the staff to take care of it, and they walk through step by step pretty easily with clients. Are there any clients that just like, you know what? I don't want to use this thing. I don't get on my computer. I don't have a smartphone. What do you do with clients like that?
I think I have one client who just doesn't use email or is just completely like, I think every client gets an LBS website no matter what. And whether they're going to use it or not, it's very important for us to have, because from a planning standpoint, that we're not really, when we're sitting down with a client, we're not pulling out their pulling out their files and sifting through where we left off, where everything is updated always real time in the living balance sheet. So we encourage our clients to go on there because we want them thinking financial all the time. We want them thinking about their balance sheet. We want them thinking about how much debt they're creating. We want them thinking about how much they're saving, how much protection they have. So we're encouraging them to go on. And that's what I was saying, we'll probably have, everybody has a living balance sheet, everybody. I'd have to say we have about 95% of our client base is active users on the site. And the other 5% are those that you just mentioned that either just aren't interested in anything, where it's on their phone or email or whatever. They're just not into it. It's okay. They're still going to have their site and it's still going to be fully updated and presented to them at our quarterly meetings.
Yeah, and you guys are using it. That's the important part.
Correct.
Now, you'd said earlier that you do some stress testing and that you put their plan into some models, I guess, and then the plan that you guys create together, you kind of do the same thing so they can see the difference. How does that work?
Yeah, so the living balance sheet has a lot of tools. And, what I always say is, I always tell the clients and other advisors is that the tool doesn't sell, right? The tool is a tool, it's a proprietary tool, and every client is different, so I really utilize specific tools catered to what my clients are and where they are and what they're looking to do. There's a few that we use pretty often that really help us to solidify our philosophy, I'd have to say. And but yeah, there's so many tools, and for us, it's really just a case by case basis on which ones we're going to use.
Got it. So the stress testing specifically, what's the reaction from the clients when they see kind of what their existing plan looks like stress tested compared to the plan that you guys are putting together?
Yeah. So everything, from the beginning part of our process, we talk about opinions versus facts. And everybody says, yeah, my dentist told me to do this, or my accountant said to do this.
Yeah.
And so this really gives us the opportunity to factually prove to them that certain scenarios will work versus might not work. So I'll give you an example. One of the tools that we use is called, the financial balance overview. And this kind of outlines all the core areas of your balance sheet, right? Your assets, liabilities, cash flow, protection. And everything goes from, we want our clients to be optimal in every single area. So when people see this, they'll see, are they in the red? Are they in the middle? Or are they green? Are they optimal? And so when we start going through this, we factually see, all their data is in there. So we're actually seeing, well, to give you an example, full human life value. What is that? What's available to you from the insurance companies in regards to life insurance, and the reasons why, and how much do you have? So if a client has 5% of what's available to them based on what they earn and what their assets and the future value of their assets are, they're like, I'm red, and and I'm like, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client, yeah, you're red, but these are the reasons why. And it's not just about being red or not. We want to understand why it's so important to be optimal here. So
Mhm.
when we go through each area and we factually show our clients where they are and where they should be. And believe it or not, that actually resonates with a lot of them because nobody wants to be in the red. So I'd have to say majority of the clients who come in, regardless of how much assets they are, there's a lot of red. There's a lot of inefficiencies. And they're like, I don't want to be red. What do we have to do to get my situation over to optimal? And one of the great things about this tool is it's not just focusing on one area of their financial plan. It's focusing on everything. So what they're starting to realize is that, well, their other advisors, if they have other advisors in their life, have only been focusing on one of those areas, and one of those areas might actually not even be optimal. So now here we are looking at this from a real broad standpoint, and they're like, "Wow, this is pretty good." So self-discovery is huge through Living Balance Sheet and these tools because they're starting to now at this point in time self-discover. I haven't given them formal recommendations yet. They're just starting to self-discover that they really do have some inefficiencies that we need to work on.
Got it. All right. I mean, that sounds like a very powerful, way to look at things. And it can be very eye-opening. So from that point, and you're doing the stress testing, you're doing all these things, and that you're using all these tools. What else do you do in that second meeting?
So I'll pretty much always start with the financial balance overview, and then I'll start to kind of work through what we call person A and person B. So it is it's a tool, it's a calculator. And basically what this does is it shows from an income standpoint what their existing financial plan will look like from an income standpoint versus what a proposed income strategy would look like. So just a re-engineering of their assets and incorporating some different vehicles in. So when you look at their person A versus person B, it identifies two key things. It identifies how much taxes you're going to pay on that distribution strategy over a 25-year period and how much income you're going to pull out. Okay. And so for our clients, I'm like, listen, under the best case scenarios, and I always show them the best case scenarios. I'm not showing them if you're going to make, if the market's, I'm saying, let's assume that your situation is completely optimal from a rate of return standpoint and saving standpoint over this period of time. In your existing plan, this is what it will look like from a tax standpoint and an income standpoint. And they're like, and that's an eye-opening experience for them. They're like, what do you mean? I can't live on that.
Yeah.
Or I can live on that, or I might be able to live on that versus, well, if we incorporate and we re-engineer and we create a little bit more leverage inside your portfolio, this is what it could look like from a tax standpoint and an income standpoint. Not saying this is what we're going to do. I'm just saying that if you had a choice, would you want to pay less taxes and more income, or pay more taxes, less income, under the best case scenario, right? So that's also another great tool, and that one right there is where a lot of our clients are starting to get the aha moment on, hey, wait a minute, maybe we should start to rethink here. Not necessarily. Maybe we should start to rethink how we're viewing where we're actually saving our money, right? Because it's usually traditionally speaking, a lot of people are just saving their money into retirement plans, not really understanding what the exit strategy is going to look like coming out of those retirement plans. So at these times through utilization of some of these tools, they start to have these aha moments. So as you can see here, is I'm not telling them or suggesting or recommending anything at these points. I'm really just educating and letting them have some self-discovery.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds like the perfect foundation to then be able to look at what their long-term plans are as far as goals, right? I mean, because the tax planning, all that stuff has to lead into the next steps, which I think estate planning would be after tax planning, right? Am I correct on that?
Right. Well, it's really more so once I think I know as we're taking the clients through this educational process of verifying strategies and their existing strategy through the living balance sheet, they're starting to, by the end of that towards the end of that meeting, they're saying, well, okay, we understand that money needs to be reallocated into different areas. The challenge is we don't necessarily know where the money's going to come from to actually do this. And so before we actually get into the estate planning and the tax planning, what we want to do is start to identify cash flow sources. Okay? Identify where their money's going and is it efficient and or not. So when most people come in, they say, well, I have this much to save or I don't have any money to save. What they don't realize is at that point in time is that the money exists. The 25% exists. It's just being lost inside of inefficiencies such as bad tax planning, not being in the right mortgage, potentially putting all your money into just one account or one retirement account, the wrong withholdings, just bad debt's restructured improperly and they're paying high interest rates on that. So all of these create, so their money is there, it's just being lost. So during this, so after they're starting to understand, okay, yeah, I get it. My plan is not quite what I thought it's going to be. I understand where we need to go. Now, how do I fund a plan like this? Then we go into in the second meeting is the re-engineering process and the cash flow process. And that's very, very important because then that's when the clients start to realize, well, I get it, Todd. So during the second meeting, in the first meeting, we were talking about inefficiencies potentially in putting all of our money into 401k plans or any sort of retirement plan or having a 15-year mortgage versus a 30-year mortgage or not necessarily doing the proper tax planning built around my business. And so once we start doing this and we start identifying all the opportunities with cash flow, now all of a sudden we have a bucket of money that can then be re-engineered into a new and more efficient plan based on all the discussions that we've had, on the living balance sheet and the tools utilized in the living balance sheet during that process.
All right. So as the second meeting wraps up, I'm assuming at this point you've got your solutions kind of mapped out and you've got a track to run on. Todd, what does that ongoing work look like with the clients as far as additional meetings or annual or semi-annual? What does that look like?
Yeah. So before we get ahead of ourselves into that next meeting, I want, our audience here to understand and the people listening is that, so once all of this is identified in the second meeting, now we have to actually go to work and we have to actually implement a strategy to free up these cash flow. And we do that and that's where some recommendations will come in. So we haven't yet given formal recommendations on exactly where the money is going to go, but we have identified that there are tremendous inefficiencies on where that cash flow is going at this point in time. So that's where we get into the tax planning stuff first. So if we have a client who's a small business owner or high income earner, they we'll introduce them to some strategic tax planners who will be able to incorporate strategies and help them free up cash flow by doing the proper tax planning. So when we look at this and we get that back and we say, well, by doing this proper tax planning, we might be able to save $20,000 a year. This $20,000 they never knew existed just because they were not doing the proper tax planning. So as you can see here, is there's a lot of steps before we actually get to the part of, okay, we're going to implement some sort of strategy. But here's the thing, to kind of pull this all together. Once they understand the infrastructure and the philosophy of where we're going to go, then we are working on freeing up all this cash flow. Then we are working on into actually creating a plan around that cash flow based on the conversation that we had. So there's a lot of moving pieces. That second meeting is really, really important because it's a lot of self-discovery. It's understanding, then it's moving forward with kind of working on those inefficiencies, from a cash flow standpoint. And then we start moving forward with implementing.
Sounds like a good plan to me. I liked it. I mean, it's very thorough. So I'm assuming that your clients are walking out of these meetings going, okay, that was fantastic. Here's the thing, is that we didn't know about the inefficiencies, the holes in our plan. And now Todd's got a plan to fix them, right? Repair those holes, if you will, or fill
Correct.
those holes so that there's more efficiency. So those buckets don't run out of money. They stay where they're at, and you're utilizing them in a much more efficient way to basically meet all their long-term goals and objectives.
Correct.
Fantastic. All right. Any closing thoughts for today? I mean, this is a great podcast. We're really low on time. What is the one thing that you want the audience to take away from this podcast?
Well, I think most importantly is what I want everybody to take away is that our process is really education first, and there's a lot of time and energy that goes into just educating our clients and a lot of self-discovery. So what's so exciting about what I do is I'm not forcing anything. Me and my team are not forcing anything. Our clients are having a lot of self-discovery, and they're having these aha moments as we're moving through the planning process. And it really gives us the ability to help them. So what I really want our audience to take away is that as long as you're open-minded and you're patient, we would be a tremendous fit for you because we're not, we can go through, it could be 2-3 months before we implement anything, but I'll be, there's no doubt that by the time we implement a plan, our clients are as educated as we are in regards to every aspect of their financial plan. And that makes for a very strong relationship, and it makes for a very strong financial plan as we move through into the future.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. There's too many advisors out there. You walk in their office and they've got the solution for you already before they even know your specific personal scenario. I've got the best product for you. I've got this for you. Anybody that can get your plan done in a week or two, I would run because that's not somebody who knows you. Todd, this is great information. Thank you so much for your time today. I think the audience gained a lot of perspective as far as what it looks like to walk into your office, meet you guys, meet your team, and begin this process to work with you. So thank you so much for the time today.
Great. Thank you, Eric.
You bet. And thank you all for listening to the Utilization of Money podcast with Todd Levine. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Todd comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thanks for listening today. For everyone at Levine Financial Group, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Utilization of Money podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available.
Todd Levine, registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS. Security products and advisory services offered through PAS, member FINRA SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. PAS is an indirect, wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Levine Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. Guardian, its subsidiaries, agents, and employees do not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. Consult your tax, legal, or accounting professional regarding your individual situation. The Living Balance Sheet, LBS, and the LBS logo are service marks of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. Copyright 2005 to 2019 Guardian. The living balance sheet displays the financial holdings identified by the client based on information and valuations provided directly by the client or by electronic feeds from the client's financial institutions. Valuations provided by electronic feeds reflect the most current information provided by the financial institution as of the date and time noted, but can reflect valuations from an earlier date and time, 2019 86269, expiration 9 of 21.